Hello, I'm Lauren Green, and welcome to Bias Bash. Last night, the third and final presidential debate took place in Las Vegas, where Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton and Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump had their last chance to show America why they should be in the White House. The nominees took verbal jabs at each other, but the media is now taking hits at Trump after he directly targeted them. Let's listen.
First of all, the media is so dishonest and so corrupt, and the pile-on is so amazing. The New York Times actually wrote an article about it that they don't even care. It's so dishonest, and they poison the minds of the voters. But unfortunately for them, I think the voters are through it. She should not be allowed to run. And just in that respect, I say it's rigged.
Well, joining me now with reaction is senior Washington correspondent for Talk Media News, Justin Duckham. Welcome, Justin. I've got to say, the media is also focusing on Trump's statement where he alluded that he might not concede if he loses the election in November. I mean, your thoughts about that, but also these thoughts that, he thinks it's all rigged if he doesn't win.
Well, as a member of the dishonest media, I'm very happy to be rigging my first election. This is really a great joy for me. No, but really, I mean, this is uncharted territory for a lot of reporters right now, myself included. And if anything, I think there's sort of a tendency to maybe perhaps give his campaign a little bit too much credence. Despite the fact that a lot of the coverage has been negative, people are still taking what he says seriously, even though he is running an increasingly unserious campaign. Right now, it really looks like more of a scorched earth campaign where he's going after the establishment, whoever it may be, going after Donna Brazile, going after the media, going after his own party, and not really, making a case for why he should be president, but just trying to burn some bridges on his way out. So I think that the media probably should not have been surprised by the rhetoric that we heard last night. It's kind of hard to understand how exactly you should portray this, considering the context that it's taking place in is just so bizarre.
You were saying that Trump is running a sort of symbolic campaign. I've heard you say that. Well, how do you mean by symbolic campaign? And do you think Trump really actually knows that?
I mean, I think right now he's just trying to settle some scores. If he was actually trying to turn his campaign around, there are steps that you could actually take as a candidate to at least stop the bleeding, but that's not what we're seeing from him. We aren't seeing any contrition when it comes to the scandal with the accusers or him perhaps mellowing his language on that. And we see him really just kind of lashing out at people on the way out and really just trying to, I guess, settle some scores. He still has a pretty big chip on his shoulder, this idea that he was never taken seriously despite the fact that he got the Republican nomination and is still covered as a relatively serious candidate. And at this point is really just trying to, I guess, give a middle finger or something like that as this election winds down.
Author Herbert Schlossberg, who wrote an interesting book, years ago about idols and the destruction of humanity kind of thing, and he said politics is downstream from culture. And so the idea is that if you don't like our politicians that we put in power, it's more a reflection on the culture, the society that put them in office. I mean, has the media contributed to the rise of Donald Trump?
I mean, I think the media certainly has contributed to the rise to a large extent. We obviously have a 24-hour news cycle. We have the internet, which is very click-heavy. And as a result, Donald Trump was just kind of catnip for what we were, looking for and what was going to have to be covered. So I think, for the amount of attention that he received, there's probably no real way to avoid that. But I think it probably took a little bit too late for people to kind of realize that this perhaps wasn't healthy. I think it's probably a good case study. We are obviously still kind of grappling with new technology and how we cover the news in this age where things are kind of uncertain. And I think that this may have been a pretty interesting case study down the road.
Very interesting, because Trump even today, even after certain people, even pundits are saying, it's a lost cause, Trump, he's finished. He's saying, he's going to win. I mean, is this something that the media takes seriously, or is it just not a part of the whole scorched earth campaign?
I mean, it's really hard. It's hard to publicly come out and just say that, look, this isn't a real campaign. You guys can probably stop watching and just pack it in, since, we're still not really sure where exactly Donald Trump's intentions are, so that would be unfair to do for him. So as a result, you now just kind of have to take everything he says at face value, even though it's becoming more and more difficult to really do so. You can't hear a phrase like that. You can't hear him coming out and claiming that he won the debate based on every poll and not realize that there really is no basis in reality. Yeah, I mean, it's either dealing with somebody who's delusional or, dealing with somebody who is just kind of flippantly treating this campaign as kind of a joke towards the end. And both of those are, you know, pretty uncomfortable circumstances.
Yeah. All right. I want to thank you so much, Justin.
Thank you.
And if you want to hear more media analysis on this week's top headlines, catch Media Buzz with Howard Kurtz, Sundays at 11 a.m. Eastern, and again at 5 p.m. Eastern on the Fox News Channel. I'm Lauren Green, and thanks for watching.